Rise up in the air, little village broken, can't repair. Engines roar like beasts unleashed, death race calling, streets disease. Soul suds can't clean the blood away, racing shadows in the end of days. Little village stands but won't survive, death grips tight, but we still drive. Tires screech, fire cuts the sky. Soap company, dreams left to die. Gasoline, perfume, sweat and grime. No escape from the end of time. Wheels spin fast, hearts pound slow. What we're chasing, no one knows. Soap won't wash what's burned inside. This road's our tomb, no place to hide. Soap suds can't clean the blood away, racing shadows in the end of days. Little village stands but won't survive, death grips tight, but we still drive. We still drive. Metal clashes, screams collide, soap bubbles burst, nowhere to hide. Villagers watching through shattered glass, every moment could be our last.
Let's do this thing. This is round one of the Little Village Proving Grounds, where a lot of these drivers are competing to find a spot in the main series with the rest of the drivers. And we have Steve.
What's up?
It's going to be 30 laps at Charlotte in the mini stock. I think what most of the guys are probably going to be really surprised about is that weightless feeling coming into 1 and into 3, where the track goes downhill and you can't really see it, but when it happens you feel it. The car gets real loose and squirrely. You also have a similar effect whenever you're like the second or third car in line in a pack, where you don't really have any downforce on the front of the car, and the guy behind you is lifting up your air for the rear of the car. So I don't know. There's probably going to be a lot of wacky, wavy cars out there, but it's not going to be a lack of skill that they're fighting. It's just a car that's not really built for this kind of track.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimated the mini stocks. I mean, they are going 150 miles per hour.
And now they're off. Most of the guys that are already sponsored drivers that aren't required to race in this series are still in this series racing tonight, but they're starting at the back of the pack. They were the only ones that weren't allowed to qualify, and they're really just out there to keep an eye on the guys that need to get through this series so that they can race the other series with us, which are the street stocks, the SK modifieds, the late model stocks, and the lickety slicks limited late models on the dirt. And they're about to take green. That's the green flag. And your top three are Braden Ware, Aaron, and Noah. Douglas. Or Vincent, sorry.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty good start. Everybody had awareness of who was around them and how just kind of see who they're going to start racing next to. There's a couple of them that were wild cards, but for the most part, everybody wanted to start it off with a smooth lap.
Well, whenever you know that you're being watched the way that these guys know that they're being watched, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of jitters, especially in the beginning, which it doesn't seem like the Vincent brothers or Braden Ware are feeling any of that, because they're just pulling away from the pack. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's because they're just hooked up much better, or if these guys back here are just kind of floating around.
Yeah, there's several times that we go 2 to 3 wide. I mean, even there was 4 a few times. Like right there, you can see them all bunched up. But, I mean, for the most part, everybody was holding their line and keeping a straight, predictable pattern that it wasn't too bad to kind of predict the pack. And, you know, I was in the back kind of just watching, seeing what was happening, but, you know, it's hard to see what's happening up in the front like that right there. You know, you don't see it until the smoke is here.
Did a really good job at rejoining safely and keeping it on the apron. That's not easy to do, especially not in these cars.
Well, yeah, that's the deal with these cars. They're 150 miles an hour, and yeah, you get that air underneath you, and or get next to that wall will suck you in because they're just not aerodynamic enough for 150 miles an hour around a track. But surprisingly, they had a nice kick out in the rear that it didn't feel like, you know, you're really burning on the tires, and where this is a long enough track, it was just a pack race for the most part.
Who was that? Was that Jason Wooldridge just got slapped by that 5 car? Probably Jamison Howell. It looks like they're hustling up there, dude. I mean, like, they're not taking it easy. Noah looks like he's splitting both lanes, being defensive. That, or he's just using as much of the track it feels like the car needs, because the car really doesn't like sticking to the bottom the way that you would think about, like for a Dega or a Daytona in a normal stock car. Like, this car really prefers to move between the lanes.
Yeah, and especially where it's a multi-lane track. I mean, you get down below on the inside, and I mean, you can really scoot. But these little cars on that outside line felt comfortable. It felt like you had good exit speed, but that entry just got really tight. It just kind of bogged you down. But if you had help up there, you could really get some speed around, make a move.
They're not playing shy now, but yeah, it seems like on the high side, you get a much better runoff, so it kind of keeps you even with the advantage you get on the inside, where you're in there first and the track is shorter. So
oh no,
and now
somebody got caught.
Ooh. Okay. And
it looked like several cars got caught up in that.
Zachary Kennedy's front end's punched in. It looks like Noah got out of that scot-free, but I think he had been shuffled all the way out of the pack before any of that took place. They're all really tight right there. Okay, looks like Vernon just comes up the track. The Pickle Gang car and the Pivot Work car get through, squeaky clean. Oh, you can see it there. So Braden Ware kind of drifted up there, and they were all just way too tight. So
Yeah, there's really nowhere for anybody to go when they're up there. That's where you come out of those exits. You gotta just hold your line and be predictable. If you try to stay close to somebody and get their side draft, you're probably gonna be in somebody else's space that's already occupied. You really just gotta be predictable.
Kenny Douglas is going to lead us back to green with Braden Ware on his outside. Anthony Eli, a very competitive racer, starting in third. Probably Jamison Howell, the notorious, on his outside. He's stupid fast most places. We've got Paul from Pickle Gang and the Wardster back there. And here we go. An awesome start for the inside. Nope, not an awesome start. Okay. Well, so what you just saw was X's being capped out from iRacing. So that's kind of put in place so that it gets them off the track. They can come back on, but it keeps the field from getting all stacked up. And Kenny is running away. There's a half-second gap on second place, but it's closing quickly because you have Aaron pushing Jamison, and now Aaron has left, Jameson. Steve, I wonder if they know that they're faster together.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to decide whether or not you're going to wait for somebody or just keep it hammered down. I mean, especially in a car this low horsepower, you don't have much to give, either full throttle or fall off. So the best thing they can do is get inside the draft like the 43 did right there. I don't know if I would have tried to pass him, and obviously it was a bad idea.
He died.
Definitely a bad time to try to pass somebody. I would have just stuck behind him, rode it out, found an opportunity, and then take it. They would both would have had more speed. They would have had a better chance. It's better to try to make a move like that at the end than on lapping.
It's hard to tell why exactly that happened. It looked like Aaron had that inside secured. Maybe Kenny didn't know he was there yet. I don't. The quad oval is an interesting thing there, anyways, because you know you have two turns essentially on your front stretch, and with a car that's so lightweight and shifty like this one, I mean, it kind of feels more akin to you were giving the car suggestions rather than driving it. So I don't know, but
yeah, that's a risk you're going to take though if you're going to try to pass on the inside. I mean, the inside's 90% occupied at all times. If you're going to try to take a pass on the inside, you're going to open up the door for somebody that most people don't want to leave that door open. So it's a risky move. It happens, but it is a risk you're going to take.
well, I do know that it takes far less damage than that to absolutely ruin your race in the Xfinity car. So, there's been, I don't know, probably half of this field that would no longer be competing if this was the Xfinity car. You know, if you just tap the wall, well, like that guy up there just did, it just ruins the aero of the car all the way around. So, you know, and if you can't get around Charlotte in this car, then I think you're going to have a hard time wheeling an Xfinity car around somewhere like Daytona, especially if you're, you know, on a hot track. That thing gets squirrely, and you're deep inside of a pack. That Xfinity car, it gets crazy. Like it's you know, especially if you're in the middle, three wide. You know, you have the air from the inside lane and the air from the outside lane, and once those tires get hot, even on a super speedway, it starts getting a little slidey, but a little unpredictable. And once you get to that point, I mean, you're going to wish that you were in a mini stock at Charlotte. So I think that this is a great test to see, you know, who can hang, who can bump draft without killing the guy in front of them, who can hold a relatively stable line. You know, you're not really asking for a lot with these, but just, you know, a lot of skills that you accumulate over time that you could apply to these could also be applied to something like the Xfinity car.
Well, when you get those high horsepower cars on a super speedway, you're going to be packed. You're going to be packed up, you know, 2 wide, 3 wide, 10 deep. There's zero room for wiggle. There's zero room for error. And if you do, it's going to create a ripple effect all the way back. Seen it a million times. So the straighter you can drive, the straighter, again, going back to being predictable. Anytime you're running next to somebody, you got to be predictable until it's time to make your move. That's when the victories are made. Is when they don't think you're going to shoot up on the outside. You come on turn 4, and you go for the dash. But trying to take it on, lap 18, it's not going to work in your favor on super speedways, because we've seen it a million times where that person that runs in first place does not end up winning the race.
Yeah, and I mean, 90% of those races, they're really just a group effort. I mean, it doesn't take much skill to go from last to first at a super speedway or something akin to that, but to survive X amount of laps, it takes work from the entire pack. And if you're not the kind of driver that can give and take and be patient and go when you have calculated your time to go, then like I said, the Xfinity car is way less durable. It's much faster, and handles a lot better, but way less durable. And now we have Zachary Kennedy making massive moves on the outside. I mean, he's making the outside work very, very well. Jamie's peeking up. Looks like he wants to help. They're getting very wiggly. All three of these cars in the top three are Savage House guys. That's a team in TVR. They're very good, very fast, and they all run very clean. Then we have Vernon Harris, fourth. I think that he's absolutely going to get a championship next season. And now we're riding on the hood of the pivot work car. And this is just what you want to see. I mean, just it seems like for the first 20 laps, we didn't see a lot of teamwork happening in the front, but I think everybody's starting to get the gist of what it's going to take in order to be able to pass. This move by Kenny. You also have to wonder if Jamie saw that as getting ditched and not being pulled to the front with him after he pushed him up there, or if that was yeah, go ahead, get out of the way, because the pivot work car needs to push me now.
Well, and see, I left a gap there. If I would have been a little bit closer, we probably could have advanced into that. It just probably wasn't the best move on me. But I was just trying to play it cautious and see how it all went out. I knew I had 10 laps to go, so wasn't really trying to get to the lead at that moment.
Right.
Unfortunately, with those cars, they lack power. So I did find out later that probably would have been my time to shine and get up there with Jamie and make the clean move. But yeah, 3 up on the high side was definitely making some headway. You can see as he pulls down into the bottom lane, we just fall off. Where if he would stay with us, we could probably all 3 advance and then just fall in line and lead the pack on the inside.
Then the high lane gets ditched by Aaron. The high lane's not getting much love here.
High lane was hard. It's you could definitely feel the engine bogged down. You could feel it, it just took a lot more momentum to get around that high line.
Now you have solid pushes from Jason going just transferring so much energy into Anthony, so that they're breaking away now, and we have a caution. So we've got Brent back here, Braden Douglas, Chad, and the Wardster. this seems like some kind of hardware malfunction, because he didn't even steer out of that wall.
Oh. No, that was definitely malfunction. Which that'll happen time to time.
Man, they were having a race back there, buddy. Like, they were really jockeying for position. And they were, I don't know, a second and a half behind the pack.
Brother, let's do this.
Alright, we're gonna go racing again. Hopefully, yeah, no, this is the last time. 2 laps to go. They're 2x2. We've got Jason Wooldridge in second, Anthony Eli in first, Vernon Harris Hungry in third, and Zachary Kennedy in fourth. Jamie Howell in fifth. And Jameson did something questionable. But they lived.
Yeah, that's hard. There's only 2 laps left. You know, there's not a lot of time to gain. But yeah, that is that's a super risky move. Willing to, you know, trash everybody up right on the line. I never prefer to see that, but I understand sometimes if you got the momentum, take, especially laps to go. These cars are really hard on restarts. The second gear was super short. The third gear wasn't quite long enough. So you miss that shift on your second gear going into third. It has a bit of a hiccup.
What a save.
Good save.
This is it. See Jason peeking outside, hoping to get a little bit of momentum, and there was none, but what a finish anyways. And they're going to trash him crossing the line.
Yeah, it was a good finish. I mean, that was a good...
I think it was a good race overall.
It was a good end to it. Overall, it was. I mean, there was some unnecessary eager moves in the beginning, but it did start to calm down towards the end, which, you know, that you get that in a lot of races. It's not to be expected, but
yeah, and then with Jameson on that last restart, you know, like, it's hard to say whether he did it for an advantage or if it really is just, you know, that because if the guy in front of you, if he doesn't get out of gear or get to his next gear in time, then it's going to stack you up and the guy behind you, and then you're all basically sitting in the same hole, and it's just calamity. So sometimes it is best to just take that outside line, put your nose where there is room, and, you know, just everybody live to fight for the end.
You just got to hope nobody else has that same decision, otherwise it gets, you know, but, you know, you got to take it when you can. Again, yeah, it's not something I like to see. It's not something I tend to do, but I understand when people do it, and obviously, like there, he had the momentum. It's not like he was doing it just to stack up right next to the guy in front of him.
Right, and well, that's it. Anthony won. He's a Savage House driver, and he's going to like hearing me say that. So, great, good on you. It was a overall great race, and Steve and I are going to have to give Brent his rose on all of the hard work he does broadcasting, because this has not been something that's in our wheelhouse. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the track.
Thanks, Brent.